Wow. Welcome to Target. I'm your host, Atlas Aultman, former military commander turned best-selling author, now bringing you a podcast that you can use so that you can figure it out for yourself. Welcome. This is Targeted. All right, everybody, welcome back to Targeted. Today I have this is the first female I've ever had on the show. I got asked before, what's going on with Kate Monroe? I said, well, I got to have her on the show. I mean, have you seen what she's done for the veteran community? And when I got the opportunity to do it, I'm not going to pass that up. So Kate Monroe, CEO of VetCom,
yep.
Former Marine, politician-esque, but seems to do really, really well at serving people in general. Can you say hello to the audience?
Hello, audience. And for the record, I'm just barely a girl. So I think I'm barely making the cut. So we're good.
I saw a spot where you're reading comments where people were trying to bash you for VetCom stuff. I love haters, by the way.
Yeah.
Every place I go, I never see them in person, but they always show up on the screen.
Yeah, they never materialize.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Oh, tell your mom I said hi whenever she's baking you something later.
Perfect.
But for your story specifically, some of the things that I wanted to highlight to this community is mental toughness.
Yes. You
have a lot of that. You have grit. So can we talk about your crucible moment, the basic training? Can you tell us that story?
Yeah. You know, when I went into the Marine Corps, as you and I kind of laughing about before we came on, I originally thought I was going to go into the Air Force. The Air Force recruiter was nowhere to be found, and I ended up in the Marine Corps. Thank God. It's something that I'm very proud that I made that choice to do. But in the service, I actually found out that I was hypoglycemic in service. So it was like a lot of weird little things happened in boot camp. But the Marine Corps has what they call the crucible. And the crucible is a 3-day evolution where you march 50 miles. You do 35 obstacles. You only eat 2 meals. That doesn't really work when you're hypoglycemic, turns out. But I actually fell off of an obstacle in the first day and broke 2 ribs. And then that evening I stepped in a hole and broke my ankle, and I still finished. And part of it was in that era, there was no no big deal. I'm just going to call my mom and dad and see if they can switch their flights around. That was not happening.
Yeah.
They were coming from the West Coast all the way to South Carolina. And I just toughed it out. And that was the first sort of test of my physical and mental fortitude. I think as a person, let alone boot camp, is hard enough. But I think I just realized, wow, we really, if you snap in and just say, know what, I'm just going to get it done, you can just flat get it done. But that was the first of many insane things that happened to me in the Marine Corps. That was actually the least horrible thing that happened to me in service.
That was before anyone knew about David Goggins. You're like David Goggins. Yeah. I'm just going to break stuff and keep going.
Yeah.
So it's like your first obstacle too, out of like, there's like 30 something.
Yes, there's 35.
30, okay. So it was the first obstacle and you had 2 broken ribs going in, and then you just like, whatever. How did you process that? I know you're telling us like, I don't want to change my parents' flights. There's no way to communicate with them. I'll just tough it out. But how did you internally process that?
Well, I had a really good senior drill instructor who really liked me. She was a fan of mine. We were her last platoon that she was ever going to be a drill instructor for. Yeah. And she took me to the medic station, and they said, yeah, 2 of her ribs are broken. And I said, I'm not going back. She said, she's not going back. I want to graduate her. Right. I want to stand with her on my final run. And she just said, can you do it? I'll be with you. And I said, well, if you're going to be with me, I can do it. And they took and wrapped my left arm to my body. They put my my gear back on, my flak jacket back on, wrapped my arm to my body. Yeah. And it stayed wrapped to my body for the rest of the duration. And I actually, when they unwrapped me at the very end, right when we were supposed to get our Eagle Globe and Anchor, I think it released all of that blood flow back into my body. And I passed out like 2 seconds before I got my Eagle Globe and Anchor in my hand. But I did make it. I think I just thought, this is just something I got to do it. Like other people have done it. There's heroes that, go and get medals all around the world. There's people that hop on bombs for other people. There's just, if other people can do it, why can't I do it? I really went into the service to get a testimony. I had a very easy life up to that point, and I thought, this is what I signed up for. This is the entire reason I did this. And so sometimes you just got to do things. You don't have a choice. Failure is not an option in the Marine Corps.
I love it, but let me explain a little bit more to the audience. A flak vest is that heavy thing that you put over you to protect you from bullets. It's also called a bullet bouncer, but it's very freaking heavy.
It's very heavy. So is the 80-pound pack I still had to carry, and my rifle, and my 10-pound helmet.
Through all of these obstacles, which they say give you confidence.
Yeah.
Did you get confidence?
I definitely, I had confidence going in. I'm 5'9" now, about 145, but I was, 5'9", 115 back then, a little string bean, but I was really fit. I could do pull-ups, push-ups, everything. But, I always tell people, if you're trying to go into the service and the thing you're trying to get out of it is to be cut apart from the rest, go into the Marine Corps, because you just get to have a different story. You introduced me as a former Marine. Well, once a Marine, always a Marine.
Always.
I'm a veteran, but I will go in the ground with a 21 gun salute, still having been a Marine. And I think that's where serving veterans and going to, patch the border and go into encampments and rescue people, because I still feel like a Marine. It's still my duty to do things for my brothers and sisters and for America.
Yeah, well, I mean, you signed up for something, but then you became part of the fewer and the prouder.
Yeah,
which is a small sliver of the Marines. There's a part of your story that I want to go into if you're comfortable with it, and that is whenever you were assaulted.
Yeah.
And that had you unlocked a whole nother mindset shift and crucible, a mental crucible, if you will.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So when I was in the service, I actually, unlike most people, I was still a virgin at the time. And it was something I was proud of, something I was keeping, for my future husband, something that I had really dedicated my life to. And so I got in the service, and it's always, well, not always, but it's typically someone or someone's that end up doing this to you. Like, people very rarely get the R word or get assaulted by people they don't know. It's very rare compared to the amount of people when they do know them. And so the guy that I was dating was out of town to go and visit his family, and 3 of his friends were left behind, and we were, drinking a little bit of alcohol, and that turned into a very unsafe situation for me. Yeah. I ended up getting assaulted. I don't know how much they got in, because I was not a dead fish. I was not making it easy because I was still trying to protect my virginity. And it was a very scary situation for all of us. Yeah. Honestly, I know that sounds crazy, but the second something like that gets over and you start to sober up and you realize the gravity of what you've done, they realize they couldn't let me out of the room.
Right.
So they just put me in a bathroom overnight by myself, like in between 2 rooms.
They locked you in?
Yeah, they just locked me in a bathroom by myself for 7-8 hours. And I had 7 or 8 hours to sit and really reflect on this. And I'll tell you, 3 or 4 days later, my command was, while they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do with it, I hadn't told my parents yet. For many reasons, I didn't want my dad to fly there and kill everybody, which he definitely would have. I got to go work with the chaplain. So they said, okay, we're going to let you out of this school environment, and you're going to go and work with this chaplain. And the chaplain said to me, hey, you had a pretty good childhood. I said I had a great childhood. Grew up in a Christian household, great parents, great grandparents. Everything was great. That's why I went in the service, trying to get that testimony we talked about. And he said, well, you have an interesting decision, a choice that you get to make that a lot of other people don't. He said, because you've managed to get to this point to here without this in your life, without this trauma. So you can look at it like it was an event, and you can give it to God and lay it down, or you can carry it with you for the rest of your life, and you can completely and potentially derail your whole life. And I was 19, and I went to bed thinking, that's very interesting. At 19, I can choose what I want to do with this, how I want to feel about it. Do I want to lay it down? And I prayed about it, and that's exactly what I did. Not to say it doesn't give you a lens and change your relationship with sexual relations, because you might find it a little transactional. You might want to control it a little bit, but certainly it didn't derail my life. And I've told many people I would go back in the Marine Corps and have all of this happen. I would fall at the crucible. I would smash and lacerate my face. I would get assaulted again. I would have all these things happen to me again, because you and I are sitting here talking now, and other veterans are going to watch us, and they're going to realize, hey, maybe I should come out of the shadows. Maybe I should get help. Hey, maybe I should be like this lady. And if that's what I needed to go through for other people to be able to tell their story, then that's just how life, that's my journey.
Yeah, well, God bless you.
Thank you.
Because a lot of people are still struggling with this, as I'm sure you're aware. I've had people on the show that they've been assaulted either as a child or as an adult, and it changes them.
Yeah.
And your chaplain was wise to give you that counsel, because most people don't hear it like that.
No.
And victim versus victor mentalities are real.
Yes.
So God bless you.
Well,
And
I mean, you being in the service, I mean, you may not know this, but because I make disability claims for veterans, I, from my lens, being a woman having been assaulted, I thought only women get assaulted in the service. So that's what I knew. And then I started helping people, and I would be, in the early days of VetCom, I would be making the claims on Zoom. So I would be trying to type and listen to somebody's story. And then all of a sudden they would go quiet when I would say, well, what is the driver for this anxiety or this depression or this PTSD? And then I would be talking to a man and he would start crying. So then now we need to have a talk, and we need to unpack what's going on. And I was the first person he ever told that he was assaulted. And now I think out of the 18,000 claims that we have made for veterans in the last year, I would say 50% of them include some kind of assault. And you got to think our main customer are male veterans. We do help female veterans as many as we can, but it's amazing how bad it is. We're actually trying to pass legislation to combat it even happening in the first place. The real problem exists before people get in. The assault mentality starts before people go into the service.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I had Nick Madow on there, and you may not know who that is, but he was the most watched Facebook video for a while, and he's a child sexual abuse survivor.
Yeah.
He said that the average for a man to talk about his experience is 20 years.
Yep.
So the fact that you're taking in claims and getting this out of veterans with the 20-year, average, probably, that tells you a lot. But
well, they've just been, sitting with it for so long. It's so, because, you asked me if I was willing to talk about it. I assumed we would probably talk about it because I talk about it a lot. When I first started VetCom, people said, oh, that's ugly. Don't say that. Well, yes, it is ugly. So I should sit and pretend like it didn't happen to me. I actually feel like we threw on a bat signal out into the sky, and all of the people who are sitting at home, with their MSTs go, wow, here's a lady who clearly has navigated this journey. Maybe she can help me navigate it too. And I would say to anybody watching, if you're sitting listening to this or watching it and something like that happened to you or a buddy, we're your people. I see you. We will listen to you. All of my staff is trained to deal with this. We field 200 to 300 suicide calls a month, many of which stem from things like this that people never face. And so if we can do that for people, that's what we're going to keep doing it.
Well, that's per month. Your numbers are impressive. Billions of dollars given back to the veteran community. And a lot of people, and reading in the comments, I feel the same way. My best friend of sorts, he was like, hey, you got out of the military. What's your disability? I'm like, I got 600%. And he's like, that's not a thing. I'm like, I know. So I'm 100% disabled forever. And he's like, you don't look disabled. I'm like, yeah, I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Because veterans, military, we're told to move on, make it happen. The mission's it's gonna happen. Yeah. The mindset there is a little bit different for most people, but whenever they look at people, and then
people look at me, I'm sure they think, oh, here's this lady. She seems to be doing great, but they don't know all that it takes to get here. I mean, for instance, when I was in the Marines, I was playing softball on the Marine team.
Yeah.
And I smashed my nose, an eye socket, lacerated my entire face. I've had about 70 hours of surgery just to look like a normal person. I'm missing a huge piece of my skull that they made my nose out of. So, what you see now is not what I was enduring. I went through years of being unattractive, years of people making fun of me, years of, I had a parasite eat this side of my face when I was in Marine combat training. And so I figured out really young, and I'm kind of glad it happened in a way because, I might have not realized how important it is to be good to people, to listen to people, to sew into people, to be good and skilled and smart and kind. I might have leaned in, more to the way that I look. So in some ways, I'm glad it happened so early. I'm glad I recovered, but I'm glad it happened in a way.
It's amazing to see your story, to see your testimony, to see you who you are. You're showing up for so many more people when you could have just been like, nah, I'm done. Thank you, though. Let me jump into this because I've worked with a lot of female leaders who have been pioneers of sorts. And there's this whole mantra out there. It's like being the first is not being the best. Have you heard that before?
Oh, I hear lots of things. Yeah.
The biggest thing, I'm a big fan of Cody Sanchez. And she says it all the time. She's like, I show up and they're like, okay, so where's the boss? And she's like, I am the boss. And I love Cody. She shows up with so much energy. But where I see the most benefit is when female leaders step up and take control, but it's different than men. So I worked for a female leader that was very senior. We stood up an organization that was worldwide, and I saw the difference in this man culture where I saw her show up differently than the men do. And so can you talk about the difference between leading as a female and then leading as a male?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of lead like both in a way because
Is there a difference?
I'm a Marine Corps veteran.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there is definite a difference. I mean, I would say that I have been in the auto industry on and off for 15 years. I even owned my own auto dealership, but I went from salesperson all the way up to GM. Then I was in the vacation club sales industry. I was the #1 revenue speaker in the world. And the last place that I was at, they actually decided that a man would be better served doing my job, even though they just took my job from me. And a guy said, oh yeah, your dress would look better on the floor. That's who got my job. So that was right at the time I decided to start VetCom. I said, you know what? I'm going to do something that I don't have to live under your roof and your rules and play by all the little boys club, nonsense that I've been dealing with, quite frankly, since the Marine Corps. I guess I'm attracted to that. You try a disruptor. But I think what I bring to the table for VetCom is an ear to listen, and there is a different sort of leadership that a woman can provide. A lot of times if a man says, let's take the hill, a lot of men would go take the hill because that man is, a show of force, and he's like, whatever. To get men to listen to you, I have 220 employees, and I would say probably 65% of them are men. All of the leadership of my company, except for a couple people, are men, and they are in lockstep with me because I'm a person that will do hard things. I will show up. I will stand in the face of adversity. I mean, we almost had our business taken from us, a corporate takeover. In fact, the same week we were committing to do this movie, and a lot of people would have folded. And I think my relationship with God, and I just knew, what I've learned as a woman, having been assaulted, having been set aside, is that any horrible thing can be temporary if you keep going. It only becomes permanent when you quit. And I think that uniqueness that I bring to the table is why we thrive and why we've grown so fast from 5 to 220 employees in a year. In the last 2 years, I've written 7 books. I've run for Congress. I've built a business that, is doing $750,000 that will this year do $35 million. We went from helping 22 vets to 18,000 veterans, and I think it just comes down to vision and leadership and being a good visionary. So I don't know that it has so much to do with being male or female. It has to do with the kind of person that you are, what you're willing to sow in and impart, and what you're willing to tolerate. I don't tolerate dissent. I don't tolerate divisive behavior. If you don't want to be in the boat, then get out and go swim back to shore. Right. Someone will take your seat and start rowing tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a lot of famous quotes out there that say you get what you tolerate, and I'm a subscriber to that.
Yeah.
So in the news, and I get a lot of scrutiny on this, because I've been called to ask questions about like the Trump political assassinations. I'm in the news a lot for that, and they always bring that up, like being in the military. I'm like, well, what is that difference? And then being a man, that's the other thing I get. I'm like, being a man, it's common sense.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? I mean, why do we have to put labels on things? But it's very important to kind of see that there's really no difference. As long as you're doing the right thing, it's going to happen, right?
Yeah, I think so. But it is good for our company to have a mix of, male and female leadership. I think in the military, you even see it. There are certain roles that women are just cut out for better than men. And there's certain roles that men are cut out better than women. Being a Marine Corps veteran, I don't think that women should be on the front lines, not because there's not 1% of them that could possibly do it, because they put the mission at danger. That the mission is the priority, the safety of everyone is the priority. So I think that there's a time and a place for every single thing. But I do think that men and women in society do have roles, and we should be getting back to a little bit more tradition in that way. I think everybody's trying to be the other sex right now, and you're perfectly good as you are. You don't need to go the other direction.
I like that mindset, because people are trying to be things that they're not, thinking that society is demanding that. And it's weird how society does that. But having good examples like you, where you're taking something and just growing it and just helping so many people, that can be anybody. You know, there doesn't have to be a label on that. And I love that for you. Okay, so I'm going to put some links in the show notes. Is there anything that you want to tell the audience, like advice wise? What's the biggest piece of advice you're going to tell your son? Let's bring that in. So let's make it a family thing. What would you tell your son whenever he's old enough to actually grasp it and use it? What advice would you give to him?
Well, I always tell my little son, and I tell it to him in his way. He's 8, but if he was an adult and I was going to say it to him, I would say, buddy, you can't have command over other people and lead other people if you can't lead yourself. If you have no command of yourself and your own decisions and you're not centered and squared away, you're not going to be able to lead other people. You're just not going to go as far in life as other people. So there are people watching us now that might need to go to cognitive behavioral therapy and get in control of their emotions. People are far too emotional. And even as little as he is, I try to help him pinpoint, am I actually sad right now? Or am I disappointed? Am I excited or am I scared? And that piece of information that on the same side of different sides of the same coin lies excitement and fear. And too many people mistake excitement for fear, and then they think they are anxious when really, if they just took one more step, they would have got that positive traction they were looking for. So anytime I feel myself feeling anxious, I go, am I really anxious, or am I just excited because I'm about to go do something so cool?
Right.
I mean, going to act in a movie, I had never done that before. Yeah. And, there was a couple of days where I said, do I have imposter syndrome? Yeah. Or am I just excited? And it turns out I was just excited. Yeah. So I've just trained myself to just go full speed because you'll get through it quicker. Very good advice.
Yeah. That's the same emotion, right? Excitement and fear, if you will. Yeah.
Well, it drives the same physiological response. So too many times we get weak when we're just about to be so strong.
That's a deep connection. I'm glad you're sharing it with your 8-year-old right now. It's going to continue being impressed upon him, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to put some things in here. I'm going to put all your books in there. What's your favorite book that you've written? There you go. I'm an author too. I can't even say words. 8 or 9 books now. Where are you at?
I think I'm at 7 or 8. The next one that's almost done, I think, will be 8. But
What's your favorite?
Well, I wrote a book about guardian angels. That was my first fiction novel. So to me, it's my favorite because it's my baby. It was the first thing I did that was fiction. But I think this BODYMAN series of books that I wrote are my favorite because it tells a wild tale of, it weaves in parts of my real life. I really ran for Congress, really in the Marine Corps. Really, when I was down at the border, securing the border with razor wire, I was that crazy lady on the news. It was scary. I mean, sometimes the cartel was 10 feet from us with guns drawn, and we just were like, hi. All my armed body men were like, yeah, bro, go ahead. Like, we will literally be worldwide news if you try to fire on her right now. And I think that was just really fun to bring some of my real life and sprinkle in quite a bit of fiction. And then, meeting Sean and Michelle, bringing that, onto the screen has just been getting to play myself was cool. So if I hadn't written that book, I never could have made this movie. So I think that's probably my favorite.
That's amazing. Yeah. All right. Well, I have a gift for you.
What's that?
It is a warrior coin, but it's different.
Oh.
Because on here, American history. I love history, and I love the whole thing. But for folks that don't know, the military has challenge coins, and the challenge coins are part of our journey. There's rumors, but I'll tell you the whole thing if you're interested. I have a video on it. But these were placed into the Roman legions. Whenever the military of Rome was sent anywhere, they were paid in coins. Yeah. And they were paid with 1 coin traditionally. And if someone passed their coin to someone, it meant a whole lot because that was their ticket to Valhalla. Yeah. So they would pay the boatman with this coin that would get them into warrior heaven. And so anyone giving you the coin says that, I want to make sure I see you there. On this coin, this is a special coin. This is an American hobo coin. So it takes American art and it splits it. So on here, I have what people see and what people don't. So there is a woman and a man. They're talking, and it looks like it's a scene, but underneath is just a sea of madness. And it's one of those things that I wanted to give to you as a fellow warrior and say thank you. So I'm going to give you the coin.
Thank you.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And say thank you so much for being on the show. If there's anything else you want to share with the audience, the microphone is yours.
Well, I mean, if you're a veteran watching this, or you have veterans that live with you or your parents, and you're not collecting everything that you're owed, we try to stay away from what you deserve, because I'm not going to unpack 20, 30, 40, 50 years of it. But suffice it to say, if you got in a car accident, it wasn't your fault, you'd go get the insurance money. So the VA is an insurance company, and you are owed money, and every month you don't collect it, they're spinning it and God knows what, probably not something that you'd be a fan of. And so we just tell people it costs you nothing to find out what you're owed, but it could give you everything. It's a risk-free proposition to do business with VetCom, because if we can't do what we say we can do, you're going to get your money back. I know for a fact we're the least expensive, the fastest, and we get people the highest ratings. We've also helped more than the leading organization, I'm going to say their name, that is for profit. In 15 years, they've only helped 5,000 more people than us. And in 1 year, we helped 18,000 people. So you can do the finger math of how many people they helped in 15 years. So that's the kind of good work we're doing over here. All that I told you in my story, all of my staff's trained to understand that about you. And nothing matters more to us than delivering veterans safely to the doors of the VA to get their compensation and their closure, which for some people is even more important than the compensation itself, just to be seen, especially if it's for an assault. So if you need us, VetCom, VetComm.us.
And that's Kate Monroe. She's done amazing work. You can find her all over the interwebs. If you're searching for her, you'll find a plethora of expertise. And I just want to say, my personal experience, I hired somebody that spoke VA, and it cost me 5 times the amount that I saw you're charging for people who are getting similar results. So if you haven't seen them and you're getting ready to transition into the civilian side, it's not so scary when you have the right people like Kate to help you. So definitely check her out. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Oh. And for all of the listeners, please don't just consume this and move on. We are growing at 2,000 to 5,000 subscribers, and we're getting awesome guests, as you can see, because people hit subscribe. If you want to do that for us, it costs nothing, but it'll give you way more benefits like we got today with Kate. Thank you for what you do. Whatever your target is, whatever your goal is, stay on it. I'm Atlas Aultman, and thank you.
Stay with us as we stay on target with another awesome episode coming up next. We'll see you there. And subscribe to Targeted Now. As an ambassador to buckedup.com, I get to give you our special discount. That's Atlas25 when you go to buckedup.com to get that special discount. Only for our listeners, Atlas25. Go to buckedup.com now.
Entrepreneurs, you're wasting money. Are you paying for TV, radio, maybe even newspapers? I gotta tell you, that's all dead. What's new? Well, I'm glad you asked, Atlas. It's podcasting. Just so happens I have a very successful podcast that I can put you on. And we're looking for guests. So if you have a product or service that will help people, hit us up. Atlas Aultman Targeted Podcast. We bring new audiences to new people. And we bring new people to, well, you. Check us out.